Okay, today I want to take you to Ephesians chapter 4. And this is a verse in scripture you've heard me share many times, but I want to lay a foundation here. And it says that we no longer be like children, tossed to and fro and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by the sleet of men and their cunning craftiness, whereby they lie and wait to deceive. Over the last couple of years, I've been teaching the foundation of the scriptures and growing up in Christ, that we no longer be spoon fed, that we grow up and mature, that we're able to pick up the scriptures and learn the word for ourselves, that we're not being tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine, that we don't go windsurfing. And today, many Christians, they go whichever way the wind blows. There's many rapture watchers today. Many of them, the majority of the rapture watchers today are teaching falsely. The majority of rapture watchers today are more concerned about their own popularity, and they're more concerned about charm and being popular amongst their followers, those that I call their cheerleaders. As far as this channel here, the Lord 2 years ago redirected my path and had me share messages in a different way, had me completely wipe out the people that I hung around with on the internet because they were into false doctrines and seducing spirits. And one of the things that the Lord had me do was totally change the criteria of how and who I follow and associate myself with. One of the things that the Lord has had me do was, before I associate myself with anyone, that I vet them. I spend a period of time, and on my list, on my homepage on the YouTube page, I have what I call the teachers of truth, and I've vetted them all of them. I spent months listening to their teachings and messages, and praying that whether I should have them on that list of teachers of truth, every single one of them, because time tells. Time tells. If we're patient enough, time will tell us who's who. If we truly have our ears open, time will tell us who's who. But sadly today, majority of people, they're just running after their emotions. They're running after what they want to hear. As 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 2 through 4 tells us, that the time would come when they would no longer endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust and desires would they heap themselves or throw themselves after teachers, charming teachers who are cute, teachers who come on with sunglasses, teachers who prop their breast up in the camera view, teachers who say they had another dream last night and then 12 hours later it's already up on YouTube. They're not taking the time to pray over that. Was this really from the Lord? But they run on YouTube and have that dream up in a matter of hours. Why? Because they want popularity. They want attention. They're not truly seeking what the Lord is speaking. So they put out a sensational title, talking about the president all the time, talking about tsunamis hitting the East Coast and earthquakes on the West Coast. See, all this nonsense that's up on the internet. I bring this up now to make a point here, because sadly, there's so many people out here. They are in the works of the flesh. They don't know how to hold their tongue. I had a individual, you heard me mention her 2 videos ago in the last End Times update. Her name is Annie at By His Grace Ministry. She gave me this channel a shout out. And I mentioned that in the teaching in that video that I did 2 videos ago. So now, long story short, I've have some messages come to me, this and that. Do you know so and so, this and that? All the drama, all the rumors, all those things that I really don't make time for. Why? Because I have a life. Why? Because I have a walk with the Lord. And those things, they take time from you. And I give those things no time. I give no place to the enemy with those things. Annie, same thing. I'm vetting her out. See, the Holy Spirit has told me, Marcus, before you post anyone on that list of teachers of truth, that you vet them out. And that I'm in the process of doing that, and others. There's several others that I'm looking at, that possibly putting them on that list of teachers of truth, associating myself with them. But you notice that Annie's not on that list, and she has not been put up on that list. Yes, I've shared one of her messages on my Facebook page. I've commented in her comment thread a couple of times. So interestingly enough, I have this individual named Minister Paul. Now, I've watched one of his messages about a year ago, and he really came off as a whiner. He came off as a crybaby. He was crying about how somebody had done him wrong and how he's so hurt and wounded. You know, we all run into things in our life. We all have issues and people who can hurt us and hurt our feelings. We're all open to that. But do we go out and get on the internet and make videos and bash them? No. And that's not what this video is about. This video is to correct something that was said. Very incorrect. Very incorrect what he said. He said that I have been sucked in and duped by a divination spirit. See, what's sad about this whole thing is that he didn't even reach out and message me. He comes to the Facebook page, and before I even knew about this message that he made about me, I blocked him from my Facebook page because I don't make time for this nonsense. So if you want to come to my Facebook page talking trash, then I'm going to ban you. I'm going to delete you off the page because I make no time, no matter who it is. I make no time for this nonsense. This nonsense is all over the internet, and I make no time for this. And then he made some other claims about how I'm promoting her, and I've associated myself with her. Well, you know what? This is something that I think is very interesting as listening to the part of his message. First thing that I got from him, you know, I thought about the woman who got dragged out before Jesus. They all wanted to point out in the open, by the way, they all wanted to point out her sins. One of the first things that really spoke to my spirit. What's going on beneath the surface with you? Why are you doing this? See, there's something really creepy. Let me say it like this. I sense the spirit of creep on this guy. I sense the spirit of creep on Minister Paul. You've got some things that you've got to deal with. And I'm going to take you straight to the scriptures because we can't walk around in offense. We can't walk around in hurt and being wounded all the time. See, I don't let individuals wound me, and people say things all the time on the internet. All the time, people are going through these offenses and these hurts and these wounds. Are we going to be led and walk by this? And you know, I was reading the comment thread, what people were saying. Oh, we're going to pray for Marcus. We're going to pray for Marcus. These so-called rapture watchers. Oh, they're going to pray for me. See, these are the same very people that refuse to even watch or comment or have anything to say about the teachings that I share. Why? Because they don't like the meat of the word. But yet they're going to pray for me. Individuals who refuse to forgive. Why does this individual keep bringing all these things up about things that have happened in the past? What's going on between you and this individual has nothing to do with me. So leave me out of your videos. Leave me out of your call outs. And to bring up my channel, to bring up my wife, don't even mention anything about us. That's what I'm saying right here. Don't drag me into your drama, into your debates, because that is the works of the flesh, clearly spoken in Galatians chapter 5. Many Christians sadly don't even know about this. I don't want to take you to this right now. Take you to Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. But I say, walk and live habitually in the Holy Spirit, responsive and controlled and guided by the Spirit. Then you will certainly not gratify the cravings and desires of the flesh, of the human nature without God. See, many Christians are missing this. Many professing Christians are missing this. Let me continue on to verse 18. But if you are led and guided of the Holy Spirit, you are not subject to the law. Now the doings and practices of the flesh are clear, obvious. They are immorality, impurity, indecency, idolatry, sorcery, strife, jealousy, anger, ill temper, selfishness, divisions, dissensions, strife. I could go on and on reading this. I encourage you to go into Galatians chapter 5 and read this for yourself. Now, Minister Paul had a problem with me mentioning Annie, had a problem with me commenting in her comment section, the fact that I put a video up of hers on my Facebook page, which I still have not listed her in my list of teachers of truth because, again, I vet everyone before I put anyone up in that list. But he had a problem because I had shared one of her videos, and it was a good teaching, by the way. Now, he's basically on a witch hunt. He basically is saying that she's a witch. Well, this is what's sad about what he's saying. If that is true and so, then this witch is out preaching you. This witch is teaching more meat of the word than you are. And many of these rapture watchers out here who all they can do is share the dream that they had the previous night, which is total nonsense. So if that's true, then you're being out preached by a witch. Okay, so let me say that for one. I make no time for nonsense on this channel. I make no time for nonsense. You know what? In Ezekiel, it talks about the sins of Sodom. And why is it that so many Christians are spending all their time with debates and dissensions and strife? Why? First thing, laziness. Because they refuse to get up off of their behind and go to work. Thus, a spirit of creep sets in because it's very creepy when we start stalking people on the internet. It's very creepy when we start going to people's pages and not having simple respect of sending a message. You know, I didn't find out about this message until days later that he had made about me. Why? Because I've got a job. My wife has got a job. We both work. We even have a prayer meeting that we have once a week that we take time for that. That's time out of our schedule. We don't make time for drama. We don't make time for nonsense. But sadly today, that's all what folks are doing. They come on the internet, they share their nonsense because they don't have a job. Back to the sins of Sodom. They had an abundance of idleness is what it says. They refused to reach out to the poor and the needy. They were selfish, thought of themselves. And then it also mentioned that it mentioned the homosexuality is another thing it mentioned, but it mentioned those other things first. Abundance of idleness. So many folks today are making way too much time, and it's always the same. And let me say this here now. Let me make another point. It's always the same cast of characters. Larry, Moe, and Curly. It's like watching reruns of 227. It's a little predictable. It's getting a little boring now. You know what's coming. You know, I was reading in the comment section again, and you know, the same group of people, these are the so-called rapture watchers. And some of them have YouTube channels getting into the same debates, strife again, over and over. It's always the same individuals, right in the middle, right dead center in the middle of every internet debate and strife. It's always the same group of people. It's always the same cast of characters. You know, Sister Allison, she wrote a list of individuals that need to repent. And I agree with 90% of that list that she wrote. These are folks that refuse to get in the truth. And I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to do something that because I normally don't mention names, but I really feel in my spirit that this needs to be done. Some of these folks, they've been, and it's not for those who are, you know, I would say that are mature Christians, which are really not mature. They've just been in the walk for a long time, but refuse to grow up. I'm doing this for the baby Christians, for those who are completely new in the walk. Now, for those of you who refuse to grow up and have been following, you know, who have so-called being professing Christians, let's say it like that. You're professing Christians, but refuse to grow up. I don't want to hear from you. Don't message me. Don't write comments in the comment section. because I have a hair trigger right now, and I'm liable to block and delete you in a heartbeat. I'll block you faster than you can say internet hooker. Okay? I'm not in the mood for nonsense. And as to Minister Paul, if you were truly a man of God, then you would not be going around creating and being in the center of every strife there is on the internet. You should be ashamed of yourself. Now, if someone's got something to say to me, if somebody wants to say something negative or whatever, save it, because I'm not making time for nonsense. Now, this is the end of this. I will not respond to anybody's messages. I will not respond to anything else dealing with this. I don't want to hear it. You got something to message me about this topic? Save it. Go send it to somebody else. The reason I have my wife on the internet with me, from the time that she started sharing messages with me, the nonsense decreased by 75%. The nonsense decreased by 75%. I love having my wife on these teachings with me because, a lot of people, they don't want to mess with you. They won't even take the time to bother you anymore because, when the husband and wife stands together, there's strength. In Ecclesiastes, it says a three-cord fold is not easily broken. When you stand together with your husband, your wife, and God, then there's strength in that. So a lot of people here on the internet, instead of teaching truth, I will say this about Annie, at least, and I don't know about her past. All I know is the 2 times I've commented in her comment section and the shout out that she's given me. So I don't know. Maybe the stuff that's being said about her is true, maybe not. But all I know is if an individual wants to move forward and leave their past behind them, then so be it. That's God. The enemy is the one who wants to bring things up from our past. So again, and at least with the messages that I've heard her teach, the 2 that I've heard her teach, she has shared some meat, way more meat than any of these rapture watchers. So before you get, before you pick up the stones, and I'm not talking about the leaf, before you start picking up the rocks to throw it at people, and I'm not talking about smoking, okay? I'm talking about before you picking up the rocks to start stoning people, you might want to look in the mirror. Well, until next time, because this is the end of my message. Me and Esther, we do have an end times update on the way. We tried to get it out last week. We had to scrap it. And then this week we've got, we're going to delay it again, obviously, because of this little thing that I had to deal with here. But we have a life. We both have jobs. We both work. We don't just dream all day long and wake up and get on the internet with nonsense. We have people that we really care about, and we reach out and minister to the people at our jobs. This is not a joke to us. This is not something, and for people to say, oh, well, I know a few pastors and they back me up. Who cares? The church is so corrupt today. Is that what you're going to stand on? Or are you going to stand on the living word of God? Or are you going to stand on Jesus? But some think that just because they have some pastors that they associate with, that makes them holy. Nonsense. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7 that many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name and done all these wonderful, great things in your name? But he would turn and say, depart from me. I never knew you. I never knew you. I never had an intimate relationship with you. I even think of Acts and the 7 sons of Sceva going door to door, knocking on people's doors, and in the name of the Jesus that Paul preaches. And what did that demon speak back and say? He said, well, Paul I know and Jesus I know, but who are you? See, many people think they're holy and strong in the Lord just because they know some people in church and that have a title. Nonsense. So again, this is the last of it. I'm not going to even respond. I'm just setting the record straight on how we vet people on this channel. And before people are even put on what I call the teachers of truth, those who are not afraid to share the word, who are not afraid to come in this camera and share the word of God, who are not afraid of faith, not afraid and ashamed of faith, holiness, and repentance, not ashamed to speak the word of God as it is. So, until next time, I just pray that the grace, peace, and love of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you all. I just also want to mention that we need to pray for individuals that their eyes be open to the truth. Okay, that they be spirit led, not manipulated by man, because anyone can come to your page and try to harass you and manipulate you into a direction. But we need to be led and guided by the Holy Spirit, not manipulation by peer pressure. So that's my message. Until next time, God bless you and good night.